the next session is the presentation about result of tissue and explant management. This presentation will be delivered by Mr. Abdul Rahman. I would first like to provide a profile about Mr. Abdul Rahman. So Mr. Abdul Rahim has received several training sessions on the field of quality management system for training facilities and seeding. He is an associate expert lecturer at the Ministry of Agriculture of the Republic of Indonesia at the Indonesian Agricultural Training Center of Lembang. He has been a member of the Ministry of Agriculture's Lecturer Professional Association since 2019, and in various international activities, he has been an international speaker for the training of farmers, trainers, for the tissue cultural training, for the workshop on added value, and the dispatch of experts to the Philippines, Taiwan, and Uzbekistan. So Mr. Abdul Rahim is an agrotechnological specialist. Mr. Abdul Rahim, if you have a presentation, a PowerPoint, or maybe a video to play, please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Do you know what are explant? For tissue culture laboratory staff, this term are familiar. Explant are plant parts which are propagated by tissue culture. You need to know there are 4 points that must be considered to be successful in explant management. 1. Where did the explant come from? 2. How do you remove source of contaminant, especially fungi and bacteria? 3. What cultural medium do you use to grow the explant? And 4. Do you have the skill to grow explant in culture bottle? You need a good explant on plant propagation by tissue culture. A good explant is an explant that can grow normally and be healthy. There are 3 criteria for the mother plant that can be used as a good source of explant. 1. Originates from the mother plant, which is know where it's come from. 2. Originates from the mother plant that grows normally and healthy. And 3. Originates from the mother plant that grows in a healthy environment. You can make a plant in any part of the organ as a source for explant on condition that they are actively dividing or meristematic. One of the important stages in explant management is sterilization. The purpose of explant sterilization is to remove the source of contaminant. There are 4 important points that must be considered in sterilization of explant. Explant condition, sterilization materials, the concentration of the sterilizer, and sterilization times. For example, banana explant require more sterilization material, longer time, higher concentration than orchid or potato explant. Why? Because the banana explant are in direct contact with the soil. There might be more source of contaminants. The potato explant is different. The tuber shoots used as a source of explant grow above ground, and and in clean conditions. The key to success planting of explant in a laminar airflow can be considered at the following point. 1. Make sure the tool and material for planting the explant are sterilized. 2. Make sure the explant are planted in the right place, such as laminar airflow. Make sure before planting explant, the culture media is not contaminated with fungi and bacteria. 5. Make sure the explant get the right nutrition. For example, the auxin hormone for rooting. And 6. Make sure the explant are reproduced or subcultured if the culture media has run out for certain grown condition on the explants, and the explant were fully grown in the culture bottle. Okay, those are the important points on the subject of explant management. Furthermore, we invite the audience to discuss and share experience with us. Thank you. Ms. Niken.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul Rohim. There is one question from Mr. Walid Kayal about the dark color liquid that was put on the apical meristem.
Yeah.
Okay. This dark color, not dark color, but it's a red color. That is antiseptic. Povidone iodine.
Povidone iodine.
Yes.
Mr. or Miss Walid, do you familiar with the name of the ingredient? Maybe it is available in Lebanon. Povidone iodine. No, it's not available. Well, but
If you got
knife, you can.
maybe Miss Pia can add.
Yeah,
It's a antiseptic for a wound. So maybe if you accidentally cut by knife, for example, sometimes we use an antiseptic.
H2O2, is it one of the chemical contained in povidone iodine? H2O2.
Yes.
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 No. Again. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. No.
Okay.
Oh, well, I think, yeah, well, maybe it's the kind of liquid that people usually use to cure the wound, to remove any infection, something like that. Yeah, I believe it is available in most countries, right? Thank you very much. Yeah, yes. So thank you very much, Mr. Walid Kayal. So is there any participant who would like to address questions? Please type your questions on the Q&A, or maybe you could raise hand if you want to address questions or feedbacks verbally. Or maybe I could ask one question to Mr. Abdul Rohim. Based on the video that you shared earlier, I saw that you use banana as the sample. I'm wondering whether whether the same method or similar method could be applied to other commodities, for example, like grapes or apples.
Okay. Especially for the murasik sekuk media, you can use the other plant, the other explant. For example, you can use potato or potato or orchid or the other plant.
Other horticultural plants. So I'm assuming most horticultural plants can use the same method for the tissue explant.
Yes, but there is different method. Especially for the sterilization method, you can see in slide slide 7. Okay, this one. For example, you must be considered in sterilization of explant in 4 important points. This in 4 important points. For example, banana explant require more sterilization material, longer time, higher concentration than orchid or potato explant. Why? Because the banana explant are in direct contact with the soil. There might be source of contaminant. The potato explant is different. The tuber shoot used as a source of explant grow above ground or soil and in clean condition. It's different sterilization explant method. But step by step explant management, you can follow in the video explant management. Ms. Nikan.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe there is another question from Dr. Mokhtar Hossein. After preparation of culture media, how long this media could be useful for further use? I think he's talking about the durability.
Okay. After you make media, culture media, make sure 1 week. Make sure the source from source contaminant. For example, fungi and bacteria. If the culture media is clean from fungi and bacteria, you can use culture media to plant explant. Okay, Ms. Nikan.
Okay. Another further question from Dr. Mokhtar Hossein. I think it's a follow-up from your answer. Which part of plant is used for growing strawberry sapling? Strawberry saplings.
Strawberry?
Shoot parts.
On the, axillary.
From axillary part or in shoot part.
Axillary buds.
Axillary buds.
Axillary bud, yes.
Axillary bud. Okay. Axillary bud. Something. And the shoot. Okay. Shoot part.
Okay. Thank you. So Dr. Mokhtar Hossein, do you have any further question before we jump to another question? There are still 3 other questions left from other participants. Okay, or maybe you could. Okay, then. So there's another question as well, Mr. Rohim from Mr. Ferguson Nainggolan. Can you tell us the other potential source of contamination in tissue culture?
Based of our experience, I didn't find the other contaminant selain
No, the potential source.
The potential source.
No, I think maybe I can leave a bit about the potential source of contaminations because we work with the aseptic conditions, so we have to make sure that all of the tools and also the personnel in the sterile condition. So there's a lot of source of contaminations when we do work and working in the tissue culture, for example, even the bottles and the tools, and also ourselves after we go from outside the building, from the garden, and we go back to the laboratory. We have to clean ourselves in a closed room.
yes,
And sterile our hands using a gloves. Make sure that you have a cover cap to avoid the contamination. So actually, there's a lot of source of contamination. That's why we always use the alcohol. I think there's a question about the alcohol.
yes.
Yeah, why we use the 70% of alcohol? Because we want to sterilize all of the stuff that we're going to use on the tissue culture work. I think that's.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
So, maybe continuing the question from Mr. Ferguson, I would like to ask, is there any special condition for the tissue culture, like maybe the temperature of the room, or maybe the kind of protective equipment that the researcher has to wear while doing this procedure?
Yeah. Okay. You can make sure humidity or temperature in the incubation room.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we have to make sure the temperature is not too hot for the bacteria or fungi can grow into the media. So we have to arrange the conditions of the room, especially in the incubation room.
Yes.
That's why we use the air conditioning and also devices to control the humidity of the incubation room.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Rohim, there is another question from Ms. Diah Nastiti Anindita about the sterilization time, how we know the different time in different explant. Example, in here we use orchid maybe. I think I'm not sure whether this is related to the questions that you have answered earlier.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. I suggest you try and error.
Try and learn.
Try and learn. Sorry, try and learn. Because our condition is different. About orchid explant, you based our experience, we just we just spray the orchid fruit in the
The skin.
in the skin orchid fruit. We never use alcohol. We never use iodine. We never use bactericida or bactericide and fungicide. Just only use alcohol 70%. That's Miss Nikan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Miss Lodini, would you like to add more comments?
Maybe I can add a little.
Yeah, okay.
A tissue culture might be a little bit tricky method for micropropagations. That's why sometimes we use a different media to grow a different plants or plantlets. That's why we need to try and learn about the composition of the media, the time of sterilizations, and everything. So what we do here is for the banana plant that might be suitable for us here in Indonesia, of course.
Yes.
And we have this kind of situation, the climate and everything. So for another plant such as orchid, or maybe another plant, maybe apple or pineapple, could be need another requirement for the media also, and also the sterilization method. So it's a little bit tricky. So we need a lot of trial and learn. I think when we find this method for banana, it takes a long time research also to create the exact compositions of the media and how we sterilize all of the explant and the tools. I think that was the addition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul Rohim and Ms. Fia Dini. Ms. Diana Siti, do you have further questions about the response from Mr. Abdul Rohim or Ms. Fia Dini? Or maybe we can jump to the next question. So the question is from Mr. Shalindra Sami. Is it possible to tissue culture for allspice plant? I believe allspice is maybe Merica Jamaica. Maybe Merica Jamaica.
Yeah.
Allspice.
Okay, in general, tissue culture can use all of plants, but you must be considered about economically. Yes, economically. That's okay.
Yeah, I think we never dealing with this allspice plants in Jamaica, Merica Jamaica, I think in Bahasa, because just like what we talk about this, there is several things that we need to consider before we use the technique in the tissue culture. We need to consider about the economic, value, and also we need to consider what kind of the plants. Actually, for theoretically, we can use the tissue culture for any kinds of plants, but once again, it's a little bit tricky. So we need to find out what kind of the type of the plants. Some of the plants cannot, we still cannot find the method for the tissue culture because they have a specific characteristic in sap, for example. So just like a pioneer, like some of the forestry plants, it's a little bit difficult to be cultured or using the micropropagations. For tissue culture. So we need to consider a lot of aspects before we do the tissue culture. But it will be widely open for research.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can do a lot of research about that, and it's still widely open, any kinds of plant that you want to grow in the tissue culture. Because of course, this tissue culture is one of the basic of biotechnology.
Yes.
So it's a very good method to be developed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fiadini and Mr. Abdul Rohim. There is another question. Okay, this question came from Vietnam and Solomon Island. The same question: what is the use of alcohol during this experiment? Which purpose, and have any intention to use alcohol in sterilization explant? I think you have answered about this earlier, but maybe you could provide further details, and especially since you mentioned about povidone iodine earlier, maybe when we should use povidone iodine, when we should use alcohol or other ingredients for sterilization. Mr. Abdul Rohim, please, the floor is yours.
Oh, I think, I'm sorry. For alcohol, I think it's a common sterilization solutions for everything, including for the tools and also for the explant. But this, for the specific antiseptic, especially for the bananas, explant, we use it when we cut the
before cuts.
oh yes, before we cut. Okay, that's one. Before we cut
So,
the meristematic tissue, right?
Yeah.
Before we cut the meristematic tissue, we use these antiseptic solutions to avoid the contaminations.
Yeah.
Because in tissue culture, we have to make sure it's free from virus and bacteria and also fungi. So this is from the trial and learn of Abdul Rohim and Misani. We use this also the antiseptic solutions. Yeah, but for alcohol, it's more like a common solution for everything, including for your hands. But you need to be very careful when you use the alcohol, especially inside the laminar airflow. Do not use it or spray it near the Bunsen burner because it's going to burn you. So it's very careful with that.
So, Mr. Abdul Rahim, I'm wondering maybe does the alcohol and the povidone iodine is a substitute to one another, or you should use both of them during the procedure?
Bisa digantikan, misalnya cuma pakai alkohol aja atau bisa
Harus dua-duanya.
Okay. In earlier, we explained about the sterilization method. For the different plant, you can use sterilization material in
okay, so this antiseptic solution, I'm sorry, Miss Lee, can I answer Abdul Rahim? I will help him. This antiseptic solution is special only for banana explant.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So, Miss Wendy and Mr. or Miss Duong, I hope the answer helps. Or if you have further questions, you can always use the Q&A feature or raise hand. So, is there any participant who would like to address a question or response? Please type your questions or response through the Q&A or raise hand. Before we are moving to the final presentation by Ms. Yadini Putri.
I think we have another question from Eddie.
Oh, yes, from Miss Edith. Okay, please.
How long did the explant banana sustainable to weather before
Okay.
setahun after ini?
Okay.
Berapa lama ini? Ayo deh.
Okay, this one, 1 month in the 1 month in one step, and in the second step, 1 month, subculture step, yes, subculture step, 1 month, and after that you can acclimatization.
Yes, maybe for acclimatization is for the next topic, right, Mr. Abdul Rahim?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Okay, so there is one participant who would like to address questions or response verbally. Mr. or Miss, can you identify yourself since your username is written as Redmi9, please? Hello.
Anyone should use.
Hello, Mr. or Miss. Can you identify yourself, please? Hello.
Huh?
Oh, well, I think I don't know. Okay, there's another question. While we are waiting from the participant who used to raise hand, there's another question from Mr. Walid Kayal, but when you treat an explant with iodine, should you wash it with autoclaved water?
Okay, after you put iodine, after you put iodine, you must not need wash water.
Yes. Okay, so maybe washing it with water should be the prior step before using the iodine.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Walid Kayal is the answer option. You can always show on. Okay, yes. Okay, so is there any other participant who would like to address question or response? Please type your answer or questions, response or questions through the Q&A, or use the raise hand feature before we are moving to the next presentation. Or maybe you will still be able to ask questions in the next discussion, because the whole topics of the presentation are related to one another.